So how's everybody doing today? Yes, you see the title of this says that you love your suffering. And right off the bat, you think that I am absolutely insane and crazy for even suggesting that you love your suffering. But I tell you that you do love your suffering. And as much as you meditate and pray and all those sorts of things about getting rid of your suffering, you love your suffering because you will not do the one thing that no matter what you believe in, always is said, and that is that you must commit action towards the ending of your suffering. You must commit to the action of it. Otherwise, you will suffer and continue to suffer. And one of the reasons why you continue is because you want to blame everybody except yourself. You know, Michael Jackson said, them starting with the man in the mirror. If you don't look inside yourself, you know, the great philosopher said, know thyself. If you don't look inside yourself to be able to say, what am I doing to cause my suffering, then you will never, ever stop suffering. But because you won't do that, you love your suffering. Some of you love your suffering because you get pity and from other people and you translate that pity into love. But really, it will eventually turn into the fact that they despise you. Because they won't want to be around you anymore. Because who wants to hear you complaining all the time? You complain about the government. You complain about society. You complain about history. You complain about all these different things. But the one thing that you don't complain about is what you have done yourself. Let me give you an idea with the law of cause and effect as to why you love your suffering and you're unwilling to do what's necessary. You see, and some of you ain't going to be able to contain this. I know, because I'm going beyond your containment level. But the law of cause and effect works like a pebble into the pond. You see, if you're standing on one bank of the pond and you throw a pebble in there, say you spend more than you make, that pebble hits the water and it causes a rippling effect. That causes you to fall into more debt and fall into into more of a hardship and things you can't do. But you're all the while throwing more pebbles in that's causing you more debt. Throwing in cable, throwing in a car you can't afford, throwing in rent you can't afford, throwing in hanging out and spending more money on dates and hanging out and spending more money on alcohol, spending more money on food, spending more money on vacations that you can't afford. You keep throwing these pebbles into the pond. And the rippling effect of these pebbles is that you never, ever start to make enough money to live your lifestyle. And then eventually you're throwing in pebbles of not doing the work necessary at your job to increase your pay, not changing jobs when your current job is not promoting. You just throwing those pebbles in there, and the rippling effects is debt. And the inflation rate is increasing and you are just not growing because you're throwing these pebbles in. That's causing that effect. Now, in order for you to change the motion, in order to change the rippling of the wave, you got to walk around to a different part of the pond. And then on the other side of the pond, you got to grab that big old stone that says that I'm going to move into a place, a house or apartment that's cheaper, and throw that big stone in the water. When that big stone hits that water, it creates a bigger wave. And when that bigger wave crashes into the other waves, then it is going to stop those waves from moving. And it may even change the direction. Now, once you throw that big stone in there, and those waves start going out, you take another big stone. I'm going to get rid of this $125, $130 cable bill. Throw that into the water. I'm going to get rid of this cell phone bill and reduce it down by $50. You throw that into there. I'm going to stop hanging out as much, and I'm going to throw that into the water. I'm going to start cooking at home, and I'm going to throw that one into the water. You start throwing these big stones into the water from a different part of the pond. Notice you got to go to a different part of the pond. You start throwing these bigger stones. You got to pick up the stone and you throw them. That's energy. That's effort. And you throw them into the water, then these larger waves start going across the pond. And as they hit the other waves of the smaller stones that you threw from the other side that was causing these rippling effects of debt and bad investments and things like that, then all of a sudden, everything starts changing. The momentum starts changing. All of a sudden, you got more money. All of a sudden, you're able to do more things. And then maybe other opportunities come. Then all of a sudden, somebody says, hey, here's a good investment. Now, if you was over on the other side of the pond and another investment came to you, then you say, well, I don't have the money to do it, or I have the fear not to do it. You throw those pebbles in there and all you get is negativity and debt. Now you're over here on this side of the pond. You have a greater understanding because your containment level has increased. And like I said, we'll talk about that tomorrow. You've thrown these big stones into the water. Now you got the money, and you also may have the mindset to know that in order for you to grow financially, you have to create income-based investments. I've talked about that before. Let that soak in. The same principle, the same idea, the same thought works with your weight, your health. The same thing works with your relationships and your love life. If you're throwing in small pebbles that creates effects that are counter to what you consciously believe that you deserve and want, then you have to literally put down those small pebbles, walk around to another part of the pond, pick up a larger stone, and cast that stone into the pond to create a new wave of effect. And trust me, every wave of effect that you throw into the water, every cause must finish itself out of that effect unless it is overwhelmed by another cause. So that's it, guys. If you love your suffering so much that you're still standing on the wrong side of the pond, walk your butt around to the other side of the pond, pick up a larger stone and throw it into the water. Because that's the only way that your greatness will ever be realized, is to do that. So I look forward to seeing you guys do that. And remember, January 7th, we're going to do just that. Y'all have a great day.